Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, it was a rough week for the resort with power outages, technology issues, and an unfortunate fire during Fantasmic.
The Oogie Boogie Bash is returning. DVC villas are going on sale. We talk about the past and future of Fantasmic and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Howdy, partners. For your safety, remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast. And be sure to watch your ears. If any of you folks are wearing hats or glasses, best remove them, because Tag and Teresa have the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of April 26th, 2023. I'm Tag Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. A big thank you to Knox W for becoming an official weekly tier on our Patreon. Our supporters get some pretty fun perks like DL Weekly swag, bonus content, and access to our Discord community. A special thank you to Bryn W, Janie M, Chris L, and Matt L for your continued support. If you would like some more Disney magic in your day, head on over to dlweekly.net/support to join.
Well, our next trip to the parks is this coming week.
Days away. We're leaving on Sunday.
So we will be hosting a weekly tier meetup, as we tend to do. Please join the hosts, producers, because they're going to be with us this time too, and other weekly tiers on Sunday, April 30th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Of course, we're going to be at the Earl of Sandwich in downtown Disney. Come by and say hi. Even if you only have a minute to come by and just say hi, please do. It's always a great fun. We'll have some swag that we give out to folks and just kind of hanging out and having a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you are not able to make it to our meetup, have no fear. Our public live stream and our Patreon supporter hangout is this week on Sunday as well. So April 30th at 3 p.m. Disneyland time for our Patreon hangout and 3:45 for our public live stream. The live stream will be both of these events will be live from Anaheim. The public live stream, of course, will be on our YouTube page, which you can find at youtube.com/DLWeekly.
Now let's get to the news. Well, among the most shocking news that we have covered here on the podcast happened this last weekend. At the 10:30 p.m. showing of Fantasmic on Saturday, there was a malfunction with the system that the dragon in the finale, lovingly referred to as Murphy, which caused the dragon to catch fire and was close to, if not a complete loss of the animatronic. No cast members or guests were injured, but some were treated for smoke inhalation. No official word from Disney on when the show will return or what they will plan to do with the damaged dragon. We will talk more about this during our discussion topic later on in the show.
As you can imagine, and as I'm sure most of you, Tag and I were both like, this hit really, really hard. And this was, heartbreaking.
Yes.
First and foremost, we're so glad that no cast members and nobody was hurt. We do feel for those that were treated for smoke inhalation because that is serious, but we're just very glad that no people were hurt. But we're just devastated that our beloved animatronic dragon's gone. And again, we'll talk more on this because we have a lot to say. So stick around for the discussion topic. Well, it just wasn't a good week for Disneyland Resort. On Thursday, April 20th, the system that is used to allow guests to enter the parks crashed. Additionally, magic bands were also non-functional. The system was down for about an hour.
Just not a good week for Disneyland. There was also, we don't have it in the news, but the other thing that happened was there was also a power outage for the west side of the park as well. So it was just, there were some gremlins or something going on. But so I saw pictures. It was only down for about an hour, thankfully, but I did see pictures that, a ton of people were in the Esplanade waiting to get in. I was going to
say, an hour is a very long time when you've got people trying to get into the parks. I had read that they were trying to help the flow of things from the parking garages and not, shuffling so many people down to the parks on the trams. Mm-hmm. The parking garages were having to hand out paper parking tickets that they were handwriting on. It was just wild. And I feel bad for all of those that were stuck in the Esplanade, kind of in limbo, waiting to see what was going on. I also feel for the cast members that were, I'm sure, feeling very panicked and had a lot of pressure on them to try and figure out what was going on, because I imagine there was a lot of unhappy guests right on the other side of those turnstiles from them. But it's just interesting because when issues like this happen, it just kind of makes you think, what else could have been done? What plan B kind of a thing. We used to have Magic Keys, for example, used to have physical cards.
Yep.
Could they have done something different if there was a physical card, or would that still have been the same system? Same thing with physical tickets. Does that make any difference? I don't know. It's one of those things that you just wonder with how much we rely on technology. What's the backup plan for when technology fails?
It certainly sucks when it doesn't work, that's for sure. I did see some people reporting on social media Saturday, like, don't leave the park, you won't be able to get back in and all of this stuff. So I do feel like that time in the morning between like 11:30 and 12:30 when this was happening, that's kind of towards the end of the morning rush of people coming in.
But you can park hop starting at 11 though.
Oh yeah, so that's even crazier.
Yeah. That's because park hopping starts at 11 now, not 1. So that's probably why there was a bigger influx too.
You would think Disney, or a company as big as Disney and a resort as big as Disneyland, would have like backup systems they could fail over to, but apparently not. But maybe that's something that they're going to work on now.
I'm sure they do, but because think of how frequently, those systems are getting used day in, day out.
Sure.
And this is the only time I know that this has been this big of an impact.
Sure.
So it's wild though.
Well, in happier news, Disney has announced some things for the 2023 Halloween time at the Disneyland Resort. First, the Oogie Boogie Bash is returning to Disney California Adventure on select nights this fall. Of course, none of the dates have been announced yet. Second, Mickey and Minnie have their costumes picked out already. The new costumes are orange and green, made out of a luminescent sheer fabric that will give them a ghostly glow.
Okay, first and foremost, yay, Oogie Boogie Bash. However,
are either of us surprised it's coming back?
No, but it just makes you feel better to know when it's officially announced, because you can just, kind of breathe a sigh of relief.
Sure.
Just in case. I think it would be crazy for them to not continue Oogie Boogie Bash with how amazing and how popular it is.
Definitely.
But very excited. I was disappointed. I was hoping for dates, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to start planning my Oogie Boogie Bash trip out to the parks. Whether or not we did that, I don't know, but at least gives us an idea of what to expect. What do you think of the costumes?
I like them. I think they're cool. I was surprised because I feel like with a lot of these type of things, I feel that in general, I don't know about the past, but I feel like they usually pick one kind of style and that's kind of the style, but now they're changing them up annually.
That's what I was feeling too. I was like, maybe I'm having a bad memory. I don't remember their Halloween or their holiday time outfits changing annually, but recently they've been getting new clothes each season.
Sure.
And I'm here for it. I like it.
Now, one thing they didn't announce, of course we'll have more details as Oogie Boogie Bash nears, but they didn't announce anything like new character meet and greets this year or anything
we didn't have
yet.
any little maybe we'll have some teasers later. I want to go back to the costumes though.
Okay,
Can we
talk? On the costumes.
They're so cute. Look, okay, so Mickey, he's got this fun top hat. It almost looks like it might be a little bit see-through, kind of ghostly almost, if you will. That might just be the coloring on the concept art, but I'm gonna pretend that it might be a little see-through there. He's got a nice orange coat with, it looks like a kind of see-through cape in that same kind of tealish color of his hat.
I am sad that it seems like they've gone away from purple this year, because purple and black are usually like the two colors, and they've gone with this green and orange.
Go to DCA. There's lots of purple in DCA.
That's true.
Tons and tons of purple. But he's got a bat bow tie. I just love it. And I like his vest. I like the swirl pattern on his vest.
He's got a swirly pocket watch too.
And then Minnie's got, her bow is orange, but it's got this really big bat in the middle center of her bow, and her dress has all these different bats all over it with these kind of fun, flowy, see-through orange sleeves. And then look at her shoes. You can almost not quite make it out in the concept art, but her shoes have bats on the toes too.
She's got a lot of bats going on.
Lots
that's
of
for
bats.
Sure. I like it. I think
cute.
It's neat. I hope that they continue changing up the outfits and everything as time goes on. So I'm glad that they announced it. I'm excited to hear about dates. I know that they announced dates for Disney World's party. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like, well, what? But keep in mind, Disney World's parties start in mid-August. They start super early. So maybe that's the reasoning there.
We'll go with that for now, yes. Well, another unofficial day is happening at Disneyland this Thursday, April 27th. Disney Nurses Day will hold its second annual event themed to Frontierland at Disneyland. In future years, this event will be themed to a different land and will move to Disney California Adventure. We have, of course, a link in our show notes to the official Nurses Day itinerary.
Yeah, they have quite a few things on here. So starting
Super
on
fun.
Wednesday, they have a Trader Sam's Fireplace meetup, which we know very well because
Yes.
we've done meetups there. It's a great
Great place to
spot
meet
for
up.
it. So that is at 6 o'clock on the 26th Wednesday. So if you're listening to this podcast late, you've probably already missed this, but Thursday, April 27th, starting at 7 a.m. at the Disneyland Hotel, they have a rose garden where you can meet up and pick up some swag and stuff like that. And then they're going to be at Disneyland. There's a Magic Happens parade viewing. There's a Wondrous Journeys watch thing. There's a group ride on the Mark Twain.
How fun.
Lunch at the Hungry Bear, and a group photo op in front of the castle at 11:30.
Super, super fun. If you would like to learn more, be sure to follow the Disneyland Nurse at Instagram and Disney Nurses Day on social media.
Well, Disney Vacation Club members are going to want to hear this. The new villas at the Disneyland Hotel will go on sale to existing members on May 2nd, with public sales opening on May 30th. The resort itself will open on September 28th. The Duo Studios are themed to The Jungle Book. The Deluxe Studios are themed to Sleeping Beauty or Princess and the Frog. And the 1- and 2-bedroom villas are themed to Princess and the Frog or Fantasia. Multi-level grand suites feature theming from Bambi, Frozen, and Moana.
You know, just when I think my Disney bucket list could not possibly get any more longer, full, however you want to say it, stuff like this happens. These rooms look gorgeous. I don't think it's quite enough for me to become a DVC member, but I do think I feel like I need to like stay in one of these rooms at some point in my life. It was always bucket list item to stay at the Disneyland Hotel. That one's now been checked off thanks to the wedding.
Sure.
But now I see these rooms. I'm like, oh my gosh, they look gorgeous. I can't wait for people to be able to experience them. The theming is just very well done. Very well done. So yay, congrats to all the DVC members listening, because you guys are getting a beautiful new tower and you get to start making your reservations very soon. DVC members can also enjoy a break from the sun and the crowds in the brand new Star View Station in Tomorrowland. The new DVC lounge opened this week in the upper section of the Star Wars launch bay. The location features plenty of seating, free Wi-Fi charging station, as well as free soft drinks.
I mean, free soft drinks. This area looks really cool. There's a bunch of people who were able to go. Our friend Philander on Instagram did kind of a tour of it and posted a bunch of photos. I think it's really well themed.
Yes.
I guess I'm a little sad because I'm not a DVC member and I can't really go and experience this, but this is what a Magic Key Lounge should be like. This is really cool. I think the theming, the carpeting, just the atmosphere, everything about it just is great.
So the thing that I find super cool is they have all these really fun nods to old school Tomorrowland. They've got like murals on the wall that represent the Mary Blair mural, the original Mary Blair murals. You know, they're representative
been tragically
of that.
covered up.
Gorgeous. But on display, they also have the original Tomorrowland Spaceman costume, and it's like on loan from the Disney archives. I think that is so cool.
I don't know why, but I'm really surprised that they still have that.
It's
to
like
be honest.
it's like a lounge / museum almost in a way. There's a lot of history that they put into this. If you have a chance, please go check out our friend Philander on Instagram, because he did a really good deep dive of all of the different nods and all of the different like hidden Disney things. And I mean, not so hidden, some of them, but he did a really nice explanation and deep dive on all the cool stuff in this lounge.
I think they just did a really nice job on this lounge.
I think they did too. When they first announced this, I didn't have very high hopes, but I think reality is way cooler than than what the concept seemed like to me. The one cool thing is we did read, someone correct us if we're wrong, but it did look like if you are not a DVC member yourself, if you have a friend that is a DVC member, they can bring up to 5 guests with them to the lounge. So if you, like us, are not DVC members and are interested in maybe checking this out, talk to any of your DVC, maybe you can get invited by a member to give this place a view.
I think it's totally worth it. It's pretty cool.
I didn't know that was a thing. I think that's a pretty cool perk that DVC members can bring guests with them. Because I think that'd be weird if you went to the park with friends and you wanted to go, I don't know, recharge in the lounge for a little bit.
Well, think about
instead
this.
of splitting the group, you can
usually
come
a
with you. I think
family
that's really
buys
cool.
a DVC membership. Like it's
Sure.
so
there'd be one member for the
it's
family.
not like
That's true.
it's not like if you and Vern bought a DVC membership that you both would have a membership.
true.
It would just So I think that's nice and that makes sense. Well, May the 4th is just around the corner, and some new treats have appeared in Galaxy's Edge. Over at Katsaka's Kettle, a new Jakuin corn chili and cheese pie has arrived for $6.79, along with a peaches and cream chilled white tea for $6.49. The cheese pie is made with roasted poblano pepper, corn, and mozzarella, and served with a citrus dipping sauce. The tea is a white peach tea with a cream cheese topper and basil crystals.
These are
I'm going to say you're all about the drinks.
These are both happening. These both sound so delicious to me. Galaxy's Edge, just knocking it out with all of the fun, cool. Like, I don't know if we've been disappointed by many things that Galaxy's Edge has to offer.
In terms of food, for sure.
Yeah, in terms of food. I even think this trip I might have to give Blue Milk a go again. It was I kind of have forgotten what the blue and green milk tastes like. It's been that long since I've tried them. But 100%, I am trying this peaches and cream chilled white tea along with a Jakuin corn chili and cheese pie. Yum, yum, yum. Do either of these sound
The
fun
peach
to you?
thing does sound good. What I was trying to pull up here was I wanted to ask you a question because I can't remember something and I wanted you to jog my memory because you remember this stuff better than I do. But the peach thing sounds really good. I'm a little concerned about the cheese thing just because, but I think I can do poblano peppers because I think we make stuff at home with poblano and it's not too spicy.
Not spicy.
Yeah, because I just worry about it being spicy. But otherwise, totally there for it. I'm really interested in trying the peach thing. I like peach. I'm just wondering, like, how peach is it going to be? That's the question. The question I had for you, Teresa, though, is not the milk stand, not Oga's. Where do you get the
kettle?
Ronto Roasters.
Oh.
Did I try this? Eric from Concierge had this, and I was like, I think I've had that. The Destrian ice cap. Did I like it? I think I liked it, didn't I?
Yes, you wanted to get it. You wanted to get a second one. I think you did get a second one during
Wasn't
the trip.
the problem, though, that, like, she said don't stir it, and the first thing I did was stir it, so
And
it, like, exploded everywhere?
Fizzed everywhere.
Okay, because I want to have this again, because I saw Eric's picture of it, and I'm like, that looks like my mouth was watering looking at it.
We need to write down our like food lists again for this trip, because we always go into it thinking, oh, we want to get this, we want to get that, we want this, we want that.
Forget.
And then we get there and we don't remember. And then
or we buy the same crap we always get.
Or we buy some other stuff and then we remember and we're like, well, now we're not, like, now we're too full, or, whatever. So
the exciting
we need to write this down.
This time is if we want to eat stuff, we have Vern who will eat everything. So if we just want like a bite of something or whatever, Vern's like, give it to me. Because he's like the least picky eater that I know. He's like, if it's edible, I'll eat it.
Yep. He is. It's all the running.
So are you, so you want both of these, you said?
I'm trying both, yes.
Gotcha.
Well, Downtown Disney has a new location to grab brunch between 9 and 2 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Naples will be offering this new dining option soon. No menu has been posted as of the recording of this episode.
So I really liked Naples. However, I will say the last time that we went to Naples, I thought that their pricing had gone quite a bit up.
We haven't been there. That was when we went for D23 in 2019.
Yeah, but
It's been a while since we've been to Naples.
They did have a picture of this, supposedly one of the things that they're going to have
it's like
is
avocado toast mixed with caprese.
It looks good because it's got like some balsamic on it. It's got some
mozzarella.
That looks good. Yeah, so I'm interested to see when they have the. In fact, while I want to see if I'm looking at the menus if they've posted it since I wrote this.
I'm really curious. Yeah, to me, Naples. If I were to say another location in Downtown Disney was offering brunch, Naples probably would not have been the first location to have come to mind, because I just think of them as having more, lunch, dinner type food, since it's, Italian foods and pizzas and all that stuff. I don't think breakfast when I think it. So I'm really curious to see what this menu is going to look like. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer to find out.
Yeah. Well, a new eatery has recently opened in downtown Disney. Clyde's Hot Chicken has opened a booth in the shopping district selling chicken skewers. Clyde's is known for their traditional hot chicken, among other menu items. Other locations include Fullerton, Montclair, Santa Ana, Placentia, and Las Vegas.
So, Tegan, I have a confession to make. When we first saw that this location was coming, we both assumed that it would be a either a quick service kind of spot, or maybe would have some seating,
like a full restaurant,
something along the lines of what Earl of Sandwich had been, where you you go in and but you don't necessarily sit. It's not table service, but it's also not just a one of the little booth sets. I think more of like snack foods. So we were both really surprised to find out that this opened as one of those little more like snack booths, because those booths have what do we've got like churros, there's corn dogs. It's more of like the grab and go stuff. So we were a little surprised by that, but I do like that we're getting more offerings and more options in downtown Disney. That I am excited for.
Yeah, it showed up on one of the Mice Chat articles we were looking at. And I was like, oh, it's a booth.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's skewers. Now, the review that Mice Chat had was that they thought the flavor and everything was good, but the sticks, there's a hot stick combo, which is a 5-piece chicken stick with chips and pickles, was $14, but just the stick by itself was $12. So, and then to add sauces was $1 a piece. So I was thinking, okay, that does seem fairly pricey for like 5 pieces of chicken.
And by pieces of chicken, think more along the lines
Nuggets.
of or like chicken tenders maybe cut in half or something. They're not like, we're not talking Plaza Inn pieces of chicken sizes.
No, not a whole chicken breast.
It does look tasty though.
It does, but I don't know about the price. That's all.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Hello and welcome to Trivia Land. Hope you are having a wonderful time. We have a little less trivia this week than last week.
Yes.
But not every week gets to be spectacular, right?
Also know for listeners, we will not have trivia next week because it's going to be a shorter report from the park.
Another trivia note too before we get in fully into Trivia Land is we wanted to amend last week's trivia. We talked about, one of the questions was, what was the first animated Disney film to get a PG rating?
By the way, we got more feedback about this than we've ever gotten about anything.
But very kind feedback. Everybody that let us know. So thank you all for pointing that out. But you fans were correct. The incorrect answer was, I think we said it was Tangled was the answer that was given.
We were all wrong.
Yes.
However, the correct answer was The Black Cauldron, which I want to say was 89
which
when
we
The Black
should
Cauldron
have.
came
We
out.
should have.
The first email or the first Instagram message that I got, as soon as I read that, I just went, yes, like that. That's the one. Like
85.
85.
So we don't get more
wrong.
emails.
Yep, I was wrong. So 1985, The Black Cauldron was the first Disney animated film to earn a PG rating.
Which doesn't surprise me because
It's very dark.
It's come up a couple times on the Hub Crawl as like a scary movie, and so I would have thought like, okay, I've never seen it. Do I need to see it?
So you haven't seen it?
Are you surprised by this?
I mean, that's true.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm weird. This was like, I watched this movie more often than I probably should have as I was growing up, because it's dark, it's scary, but there's some really lovable characters in it. It just, the Horned King is really pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this movie.
Yeah, you need to give it a watch at least once. But
okay, I will add it to my Disney Plus watch list.
You can watch it on the plane as we fly out to California this next week.
All right. So I'm sorry, Producer James, we have hijacked you. Please continue.
That's okay. The poor Black Cauldron, often forgotten.
Yes.
This is why we pride ourselves on saying we're a Disney Parks podcast. And when we leave our lane, we get in trouble. But anyway, that's why we're going back to park questions this week. So my first question for you is, there's a tree in Avengers Campus that, if it's lucky to gain superpowers, it'll share an origin story with what superhero?
The Hulk.
The Hulk. I love this tree.
It's the Hulk tree.
It is such a Disney detail, though, is it not? Like,
it is.
It's just perfection.
Perfection.
Anyway, our second question this week, it's an audio clue. And honestly, I wasn't confident in your confidence in that first question, so I tried to give you something easier. So you're welcome. Here you go.
What attraction?
What attraction is it?
That would be Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's tough because I think it's Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not Fantasmic, right? Because I feel like they use the same audio clips in Fantasmic.
I will tell you this is not from Fantasmic.
Okay, it's from Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was
then.
going to say, as soon as you said, "Oh, that's tough," I went, "Huh?"
Well, because it could have been from Fantasmic.
Yes, 'cause
like
you were
it could have been
thinking- yep.
tricky.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
That's a great idea for future clues, though. Thank you.
Good job. Good job, Tig.
I mean,
That's an un-5-5, by the way.
I don't know how that
I'm
sounds.
taking away your 5-5.
Oh.
Like that. This is a high five. This is an un-high five.
What a podcast experience this is becoming.
I don't know if that picked up on the microphone.
I told
or
you
not.
there was. What did you put in dinner?
What did I put in?
We're all losing our
apparently
minds.
the whatever secret ingredient, the breakfast potatoes. have.
I want to mention this on the podcast. Teresa for dinner tonight made, what do you call it?
Well, I just called it a sheet pan. Hey, we got to use these things up before we go on vacation.
So it
dinner.
had potatoes and it had some sausage. It had some peppers. It had some onions and some seasoning, which Teresa doesn't know what it was because Vern just spattered some
I
seasoning
can
on
get
it.
the seasoning. I know what seasonings they were.
And
I just
I
don't know
said,
the measurements.
This is almost the famous breakfast potatoes.
Both James and I just like put our forks down and stared at him like, what?
It tasted, it was the closest thing that I have tasted to the breakfast potatoes since the breakfast potatoes. The only thing that was bad was it didn't have like that the texture wasn't right, but the flavor was great.
Just need to be a little crispier.
And James, what did you say to Teresa?
Well, how do you want your $100?
My accidental $100.
Anyway, sorry, James, please continue.
No, this is great. I'm loving the insanity of Trivia Land tonight.
Just wait till we get to, oh man. We're just trying to get all the happy emotions out because we know we're going to a sad place after this.
All right. Well, using that segue. Third question. In what attraction can you find a parody of the Mona Lisa?
In what attraction can you find a parody of the Mona Lisa? Is it... No, Muppet Vision doesn't exist anymore.
Or Muppet
I thought
Vision?
I thought it had been in Goofy's house, but I don't think...
Goofy's house?
Yeah, I think since the refresh of Tomorrowland, since the refresh of Toontown, they took some of the... I thought there was something about Goofy. I thought there was something in Goofy's house.
Those dreams of a Tomorrowland refresh coming out.
Yeah.
For some reason, the only thing that's sticking in my head right now is the Mona Lisa with Miss Piggy as the Mona Lisa, and that image cannot get out of my head. So I'm like, oh, maybe the Haunted Mansion. Nope, that was Muppets Haunted Mansion that I'm thinking of something like that. So I have poisoned the well of my knowledge of this question.
Yeah, I'm gonna...
Because it's still existing, right, James?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, so it can't be Muppet Vision because that doesn't exist anymore.
We will check for sure when we're there.
I'm gonna go... The only thing I can think of is Goofy's house. But I don't know if it's there with the refresh because now it's like a candy factory inside of his house.
Yeah, I got nothing other than that. Yep.
I mean, let's be honest. It is a shame that the Muppets are woefully underrepresented in the park.
Well, yes.
Amazing
Disneyland,
property.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Your final question for this week. Name the fortune tellers in Disneyland Park.
Oh, dang it. Esmeralda.
What's the chick's name on Main Street? Tilly.
She's in a fortune teller. She's just the ticket taker at
that's
the
true.
Main Street Theater. There's that pirate guy. I don't know his name.
Yeah, pirate guy.
And then
Where's Esmeralda?
she's on Main Street. She's at the Penny Arcade.
There's a genie one, right? Isn't that in Adventureland?
In Adventureland, I don't know the name of it though.
That should be the only places that have them, right?
Wait. There is one in Adventureland. It's not. There's the
It's
genie.
not the shop.
There's. We're terrible at this. I'm gonna say okay. Esmeralda, pirate guy.
We're grieving, Teresa. It's okay.
Who? Okay. What are you going with? Did I talk you out of Tilly?
I'm just going to say Tilly.
You're gonna
I don't
go
know
Tilly?
the other people. It is Tilly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's a fortune teller. I think
No, but
just a
she's
ticket
that same
taker.
kind of creepy, realistic thing that's like
Yes.
similar to what they put in.
Pirate guy, and then there's a lamp in the Adventureland Bazaar, but I don't know the pirate guy's name, and I don't know the lamp. I feel like there is something else in the Adventureland Bazaar that's an actual like station, but I don't remember what the character is. Part of me thinks it's a shrunken head, but I feel like
Oh, it might have been a shrunken head.
that I don't know if it's still there though.
Mm.
Lamp and shrunken head. Ned. We're gonna say
Shrunken head Ned.
That's
Wasn't that from Harry Potter?
I don't know.
Wasn't that the dude that was on the night bus?
His name is not Ned.
Oh, okay.
I just remember him talking to the driver. I don't remember.
Oh, sure.
That's the wrong studio tag.
I know.
We're not proficient on that studio.
Remember, we are not a movie podcast.
All right, James, I think we've tapped that well.
Great. Well, can you see into the future like Esmeralda, the pirate guy, or Shrunken Head Ned?
Or Tilly. Don't forget Tilly.
Or
Tilly, who's not
Tilly.
even not even one of them.
Ooh, maybe they know how well you did at Trivia Land, but for everyone else, we have to wait to find out until after our discussion topic.
Well, for our discussion topic this week, because of the events that happened at Disneyland recently with the Fantasmic show, we thought we would kind of go back and talk a little bit about some of the history of Fantasmic and lead up to today. And then we have some eulogies from our supporters in our Discord chat and from each other, from ourselves here about Murphy. So where does this all start, Teresa?
Well, I think we need to start before the beginning.
Before the beginning.
Before the beginning, when we talk about Fantasmic. So the thing that's really incredible that a lot of people may not know is Fantasmic feels like it's been around forever and ever and ever, but it really, in the history of Disneyland, hasn't been. It's been around for a while, yes, but not as long as some may think. Like, all of my memories of the park include Fantasmic and its various versions, but that's, again, those are my memories. Those are just when I visited, but in the grand scheme of things, it hadn't been there very long. We found some really great articles, of course, links in our show notes, so you can see all these amazing photos for yourselves. But we have photos of the construction on the rivers of America pre-Fantasmic because, shocker, the island and the setup as we know it today didn't exist prior to Fantasmic. So the old mill and that stage area 100% exists for this show and was built special for the show Fantasmic. In fact, they completely drained the rivers of America back in the early 90s in preparation for this show. And we were talking about it used to be dirt, then they actually paved the basin of the river for this show and installed all sorts of cool stuff. So again, really neat photos that we have to share with you. Links are in the show notes if you'd like to look at for yourselves.
We were also just looking at this before we started recording the discussion topic part of the show this week. And some of these photos are kind of shocking compared to Disneyland that we know of today. For instance, the first thing I noticed was it wasn't as busy as it is nowadays,
Yes.
which I think nobody would be surprised to see. However, there were some photos here where there are entire sections of what now would be behind construction walls that were just kind of open.
Very tall construction walls too. It's almost like the construction of this. Yes, there was, a wall in between the main walkway and the drained rivers of America, but there were side parts like over by as you're going towards the mansion, that side of the river that just had like low little fences that just you could very easy. It seemed like it was easier to see in.
It's those barriers I feel like they put out where they're like touching paint up on something.
Yes. Whereas now I'm thinking back to when they were redoing the Pirates of the Caribbean queue. There was not even a crack in any of those construction walls just to get like the slightest little glimpse. They have it sealed up tight so well. It's just amazing the difference in time, right?
Yes.
Because back then folks didn't have cameras in their phones. People didn't have social media where they were kind of sharing all of this behind the scenes stuff. So it's really interesting how things have changed over the years as far as how much more secretive Disney is about stuff that they're working on.
There were some photos that we have linked in the show notes of things that I honestly had never seen photos of and didn't even know happened. So one of the first photos I saw was the Mark Twain was sitting at that bend in the river that's basically like where, and this was right around where Splash Mountain is, just sitting there, not at the dock or anything, just kind of sitting on the ground. And then there's a picture later on that they did the Mark Twain refurbishment right there in the riverbed. And you could see it from the area by Hungry Bear, which is amazing. Like, they don't show any of this stuff anymore.
There's a truck parked next to the Mark Twain in the dried riverbed. Is that maybe a dumpster?
That's a dumpster.
In the middle of the dry riverbed. It's just wild. It's really, really cool. So highly encourage, if you have the time, please check these photos out if you're one of those behind the scenes Disney nerds like we are.
It was a different time.
Well, and it just makes seeing it in this like beginning construction stage to what it is and looks like now. It's amazing to me. Somehow this doesn't take away any magic for me.
No.
It actually somehow makes it more magical to know how deep the river really isn't and all that sort of thing. It's just
I like how you worded that. How deep the river really isn't.
You have this thing. It's kind of like me with the Haunted Mansion, where I think I fully know that the entire attraction is not within the facade that looks like the creepy house that we see as, from the outside. But my brain thinks for sure I'm in that exact same building. It's wild. Speaking of the Haunted Mansion, when they were planning, so they knew that they wanted to do some sort of show. So again, we're in the pre-Fantasmic time and we're in the blue sky planning process. They knew they wanted to do this show, something, and they weren't sure what to do. One of the concepts that had emerged was a show based around characters from none other than the Haunted Mansion and the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. We could have had Happy Haunts entertaining us in the evening, or more swashbuckling pirates entertaining us. I just thought that was interesting. But there was something else that they were talking about where it was built up around Fantasia, and the thought included a live orchestra floating on a barge. But eventually, the concept of Mickey battling all sorts of Disney villains combined with moments from famous animated features was the one that won out. And what we now know today as Fantasmic was born. However, fun fact, originally the show was called Imagination. It was not actually called Fantasmic when they first were designing the show.
Which explains why in the music he goes, imagination.
Lots of imagination references. But yeah, I thought that was just wild.
I love the promotional artwork from back in the day too that shows a really spectacular dragon that, spoiler alert, before we had Murphy, was not as spectacular as in the promos for the show either. It was pretty bare bones. It was the equivalent of like a boom with a dragon head on the end of it.
If you've seen Fantasmic in Walt Disney World, their current dragon was very much like what the original dragon was for Disneyland's version of Fantasmic. So like we mentioned, construction did begin on Fantasmic in 1991. The rivers were drained. Tom Sawyer Island was expanded, and they installed all the new show's infrastructure. Some of the infrastructure included computer control rooms, backstage areas, fun things like larger-than-life Pinocchio marionettes, and of course, the dragon, which, like Tag mentioned, was basically Maleficent Dragon 1.0 was, just the dragon's head on top of like a cherry picker. But it was pretty good, a sight to behold. And again, think about the time of when they came up with this. Pretty amazing. But all in all, in the end, it's estimated that the show costs around $30 million to build, construct, create, put on, all that stuff.
And that was way back in 1992.
Yeah. And at that time was more typical the price it was to build an entire attraction. So the fact that they invested that much into a show, I mean, it paid off, because this show is, I feel like it's just so ingrained and is just such a part of Disneyland DNA that I can't think of Disneyland without Fantasmic. That's how much the show is part of it, I think.
Yeah. I was trying to explain to someone at work today. We had some professional development and we were kind of doing some group work, and I was trying to explain how good Fantasmic was. I said, look, this show came out in 1992 and I still consider it the best nighttime entertainment that the park still has 31 years later.
Yeah.
Now, they've updated it a little bit, but I would say the core of the show has remained pretty much the same since the beginning. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about Fantasmic so much, I know we're talking a little bit about the history, but one of the things I love so much about it, the very first time I saw the show in person as a small kid, was it's just there's so many things you don't expect from it, right? So you think any type of show, if you've never seen it, this is going to be not mean anything probably to you, but if you've seen it, you know what I mean, is during the day, and we've talked about this a lot, during the day, you would not know that a show happens there. As the night progresses, light towers come up, the stage transforms on the end of Tom Sawyer Island. All of this infrastructure for this show comes out of seemingly nowhere. It's very Disney magic. And then when I first saw the show as a kid, there were so many things that I did not expect. There's barges that come out that have the princesses on them. There's fire effects. There's fireworks. The Mark Twain is part of it. The Columbia is part of it. Like all of these things, even when it was a cherry picker dragon, it was amazing that this thing was not there a second ago, and it is there now.
There it is.
Then they set the river on fire. As a kid, I would never in a million years have even conceived that it was possible to set water on fire.
As an adult, I'm still just in awe and amazed and have this need to always be sure that we see Fantasmic when we're there, when it's playing. I was very sad, and of course, you know, not it just is what it was, but part of my ideal Disneyland wedding was to end my day watching Fantasmic with everybody. However, Fantasmic was not playing yet again, so that didn't happen, but that was like the one, like if there was anything quote unquote missing, that would have like been the ultimate. That's how much the show, it's just so, like you said, it's just everything about it is just pure Disney magic. And I think that's why the show's so important and why it's lasted the test of time as long as it has. So anyway, so like Teg mentioned, it did debut in 1992. The press preview was May 13th. However, the official opening day to the public was on May 15th. And of course, the show was a smashing success. Crowds flocked to the park in record numbers. And that original show, because we're going to talk about the different changes throughout the years, but that original show featured, of course, full-scale Peter Pan versus the Pirates battle. There was all sorts of different characters on the Mark Twain riverboat, which those have changed kind of throughout time too, depending on, you know, what's new and different characters get added. I think that's really fun. Something that it's always changing, but you may not notice those changes because they're small changes. There was a giant inflatable Ursula.
Oh, I missed that.
And then of course the fire-breathing dragon Maleficent finale at the end. And then like I said, there were very large Pinocchio marionettes. Of course, we had Ka, and we had King Louis and the princesses and their princesses.
Peter Pan.
Princesses and their princes.
I know they're never coming back, but man, who?
And the TikTok, the crocodile following the boat. I loved that. I thought that was wonderful. So yes.
I mean, it was wonderful. So I didn't know this, actually. We probably covered this when we covered this. We covered the full history previously on episode 49. So if you want to go way back to episode 49, you can hear us talk about some of that. We're going to kind of speed up just a little bit, I think, here. But originally, apparently, the plans had called for the show to be refreshed every 5 years. But it did see some updates over the years. So technological upgrades, of course, in the late 2000s, which culminated in the big 2009 refurbishment, which obviously brought Murphy in her up to recently current splendor.
Yes. I do want to touch on Ursula though, because Ursula is kind of one of those interesting. Ursula. I never got to experience Ursula. So Ursula is one of those things that if she wasn't around really that long, so she did have some issues. Of course, there were hiccups, and so Ursula was an inflatable on a barge that they'd drive down and through and around the river. But she actually, it kept breaking down, and she was retired for good in 1997. There were also this is really, really like sad for me to say this. There were issues with the reliability of the fire effects that were used for the original Maleficent dragon, and the biggest thing that they probably didn't know that they needed to plan for was crowd control issues.
Oh yeah,
it was such a popular show, and it was such a it just caused such a and it caused such a bottleneck because the banks of the river were not designed to handle the massive crowds, because people wait hours to be able to see this show. Yeah,
I remember until they started doing fast passes and stuff like that people literally, you'd pass there at like 2 PM and people would already have like blankets out waiting for it. But man, it's just such an amazing show.
The cool thing though, and this was the version I remember. So when Ursula was retired, she was replaced with, she was then a projection on the mist screens, but they replaced her physical figure with Flotsam and Jetsam, her 2 electric eel pets. And they must have been on, jet skis. Those guys were so cool. I don't know. And
those came with the 2009.
I could make the most perfect version of Fantasmic, for me, would include Flotsam and Jetsam again. I thought they were amazing. It would include the Peter Pan scene purely because I loved the TikTok figure that followed the boat. I thought all of the physical characters and physical effects of this show are what make it so magical. The mist screens, they're a nice addition, but I don't want them to be the main focus, if that makes sense.
And the strength of Fantasmic is that it's kind of a lot of things, right? That you have the projection screens, you have the characters, you have the boats, you have all of these things. You have the fireworks and the fire and the mist screens and the lasers. I feel like Disney was like, what are all of the things we could put in a show? Let's put them all in this show. And it's a spectacle. So when Ursula, by the way, the reason that the Ursula scene is so long in the original version is because they needed time to get Ursula from one side of the river to the other, because she came out like the boats and stuff do and like made her way around. So that takes time, which is why her section's pretty long. But then I do miss that because it was spectacular. It was huge. She moved her arms around a little bit. It was kind of
cool. Her eyes glowed.
I also liked TikTok a lot and TikTok hung around until they replaced that scene.
Yeah, until Pirates of the Caribbean took over. Yeah.
Now, some of you may not know this, but or know the history here, but the reason that we refer to the dragon as Murphy,
the most current dragon,
is because when the Maleficent animatronic dragon premiered in 2009, there was all types of problems. So everybody referred to as Murphy as along with, like the old Murphy's Law of anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Because when she got installed, everything was a problem.
She had a rough go of it. The animatronic dragon prior to her, I just learned this in doing this deep dive, but that animatronic's nickname was Bucky because it had 2 large teeth in front, and that was
like buck teeth.
Yeah, and that was part of the fire effect. Was the spark would go between these oversized teeth, so that's why those teeth were a little bit more oversized, because it was the spark for the fire effect or whatever. Yeah, link in the show notes for all this behind the scenes stuff that we read. But we found these really great articles of this guy that was at the park. Like it's him talking about his memories of the experience and some of his photos. He shared photos from the souvenir guidebook that was available for the premiere of Fantasmic, all sorts of really cool stuff. I was just actually reading, and he was talking about how, there was so much anticipation for this. And when the construction walls came down for the Rivers of America, it was a little bit maddening for guests, because once the river was filled back up and the walls came down, it looked so good that it kind of looked like,
what
did they do? So there was maddening, and they were just like, I don't understand what took so long here. But then, of course, when everybody saw the show and they saw all of the different underwater jets and all the different lighting, all the different things that they had done that then kind of came out at night, then it was kind of like, oh. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time talking about the history of it because I just keep thinking to myself how amazing of a show it is.
It is super, super amazing.
Especially for being 31 years old, that this happened in the 90s. I want to say when she first premiered, or maybe it was when the 2017 refurbish thing happened. I want to say that she used to move more. And then I think that to try to stem some of the issues that they kind of limited the movement. Because I remember, didn't she used to rock back and forth a little bit and her head went down a little bit more? Because this seems like a lot further down than it ended up being in the most recent couple of...
Yeah, I felt like she'd almost be darn near eye to eye with me.
Yeah.
So now we're going to kind of transition and just focus more on the Maleficent dragon, the 2009 version, which we lovingly refer to as Murphy. So
Created by Garner Holt
sure.
Productions.
Yes. So yeah, it was actually Garner Holt Productions that made Murphy and all of her amazingness. But the thing that, you have to remember, she's been performing since 2009.
Yep.
So, and 2 shows a night.
Maybe 3. Yep.
At least for sure every weekend, and then during the summer every single night. So she has put in a lot of time at the parks. So the thing that I try and keep kind of remembering and reminding myself is, as horrible and tragic and sad as it was that this incident happened, really, it's amazing that something maybe like this didn't happen before. Because I don't know. The odds of, you know what I mean? Like,
anytime you're shooting fire out of something.
But I mean, but how often it was happening too. It was happening multiple times. Anyways, but there's something about her. She's just incredible. Honestly, hands down, my favorite part of all of Fantasmic is Murphy. And it always has been. I remember joking with James at Concierge about, I think he had helped us book Fantasmic dining packages. And I was like, Murphy's got to come out. I just am in awe of her. She is just incredible. She stands at 45 feet tall. And the thing that's really cool is we've kind of been doing some more research and seeing more things about her. But I did not realize until recently, and we can share a photo of this for those of you that are interested, but magic spoiler, she actually, yes, she lives in a cave, in a cavern underneath the stage, which to me is also amazing. I would have wanted to pay money to get a backstage tour to go down into this cavern to see where Murphy lives.
Yep.
But the thing that's incredible, and I never even wrapped my head around it, was how she fits down there. I just assumed this cave down there was as tall as Murphy was, plus a little bit taller, obviously.
Me too.
So she could get down there. Oh, but no, Murphy was a girl of many talents. She somehow was able to kind of tuck her head. So her neck would go back down, would retract down into her body. So then she would lose, however many feet.
And her horns would also fold back.
And yes, and her horns folded back too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that area about where her shoulders are, if you go up just a little bit from that, just above that is where the base of Murphy kind of ends, and the rest of her collapses inside of that, which honestly, until this whole thing happened and we saw some photos and doing some research, I did not know that I was like you, I thought the whole thing just went down into the ground.
I thought there was this really, really deep cave that she lived in under there. That was now, again, Disney magic. That's just how my brain, why my brain didn't even think, oh, she probably, so consolidates herself.
So here's a couple things we haven't mentioned yet. I think it's important. So for those of you who might find this traumatic, this is maybe where you skip ahead to the trivia answers, because now we're going to get a little sad talking about kind of what happened. So Disneyland they released a statement that they are investigating. They're starting an investigation as to what caused this. But let me just paint the picture for you if you haven't, by some miracle, haven't seen the video of this on the internet, because I kind of, full disclosure, I feel like I've kind of been scarred by this in a weird way, and that's not normally my personality. But seeing pictures over and over of this is kind of traumatic for me. But I'll try to explain what happened. So during the 10:30 performance, so the second performance of the night on Saturday, April 22nd, the finale, Murphy showed up like she does, and Mickey was on stage. And when Murphy was supposed to shoot fire out of her mouth, the liquid came out but did not fully ignite. It kind of half ignited, which some people, in hindsight, are saying that Disney maybe should have stopped the show right then, because obviously something wasn't correct. But they continued the show. The investigation will determine what happened eventually in the future. This is just what we know now. And basically when Mickey turned to zap Maleficent, or Murphy in this case, there's that section where fireworks and stuff come out of Murphy's head. And that is when her head kind of ignited in fire and started just kind of was a big ball of fire. And it looks like a lot of the flammable material was falling out of her mouth and dripping down onto her body, which caused her body to ignite. and basically devolved into a giant fireball on stage. Guests were evacuated from the area. Cast members were evacuated. Some were treated for smoke inhalation, but no cast members other than smoke inhalation were harmed or anything like that. That side of the park was kind of evacuated out of abundance of caution and safety. And they, after quite a while, got the fire out.
Yeah, so from what I saw on videos, it seemed like the worst part of the fire was about 15 to 20 minutes. However, official word from the Anaheim Fire Department was that it was 2 hours once they got it fully extinguished. But I don't even know what if I would have been there that night during that performance. I think I would have been like a lot of people there. It seemed like from watching the videos, a lot of people were kind of a little in shock when they first noticed that Murphy was
on fire.
Was when the fire first started. I think a lot of them were in shock. If you watch, Mickey was on stage with Murphy when this happened. When this first happened, thankfully Mickey exited the stage before it got, really, really bad. But watching it and seeing how big of it was like, it's very shocking. It was hard to watch. And the thing that's so difficult, and a lot of people may not understand this. Yes, we're Disney adults. Yes, it was just, an inanimate character. Yes, it wasn't, a real person. But Murphy was such an icon of the park, and it's such a big part of this super beloved show that it's just really difficult to watch. I equated it to like saying to take, like, this is almost like it's so threaded in Disneyland's DNA. It would be like if the castle were on fire, or if the Haunted, like these things that are just such a big part of the park that you just expect to always be there and are just so amazing and magical. To see those being destroyed, it's tough. Yeah, a lot of people looked like they were in shock, and then all of a sudden this kind of big fireball went off, and then, people got up and exited more quickly. Of course, you did have people that were stopped and just couldn't take their eyes off of it, or they were filming, or, whatever. So some people, the cast members did have a difficult time trying to get people out of the area. They did do this is the thing that's incredible is seeing the aftermath. Somehow this very large fire, the only thing that it looks like it really damaged was Murphy itself. I don't it's amazing to me that this didn't take out more of the stage,
the mill, or
take out the mill, or take out a bigger space around it. Or, I think about that poor Mickey who was right there. That could have been devastating. So in the grand scheme of things, if you were to, it ended up okay. We lost, the only thing we lost was Murphy.
Right.
It's going to take a while to rebuild though. But yeah, very difficult.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, like you were saying, Teresa, about being an icon is, Murphy was kind of a technological marvel just because it was such a large animatronic and it was very impressive. We were just talking about how it could, in the beginning, it moved a little bit more than it did towards the end, just because I think that was causing some of the problems. But it's really impressive that this giant thing that's made out of steel and all these other things was able to, first of all, come out of the stage so quickly during the show and go back so quickly during the show and breathe fire and do all of these different things.
There were fireworks that came out of her head.
It was a marvel. It would be like Rise of the Resistance burning down or something. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I think that people are sad that something that was so magical and kind of impossible seeming is gone.
And the thing too that's, kind of where do they go from here? It's estimated that when Murphy was purchased, she was around $10 million. So she was not
cheap.
She was not, and rightfully so. She's incredible. She looks like she came right off the screen. Yep. That's how realistic, air quotes, realistic this cartoon animatronic dragon looked. Just amazing. She was, amazing. If I could have it's one of those things. I had such a love for her. I wanted my picture taken with her. I just loved her. I loved her so much. Every time we walked past, and if she was out, I couldn't keep my eyes off her because she was just amazing. I'm sure a lot of you felt the same way too.
It would have been really cool in hindsight if after the show, they would have brought her out and lit her up on the stage so you could get pictures with her, like from the shore. That would have been really cool. I know that that's part of like the Disney magic of the show is to not have that.
You know what would have been cool? Ooh, if they would have had like a villains after hours party and she was just like on the stage and just kind of like moving and being her cool self.
That would be cool.
That would have been super cool.
So going forward, there's no official word from Disney of what's happening with Fantasmic. You know, in the app, there are some available showtimes.
As soon as May 5th. However, they may just be taking it a week at a time at this point.
So don't plan anything about it. But obviously, Murphy will not be back for that. No. That they do have a B mode for when Murphy does act up that is projection based. And so we'll have to see what Disney decides to do if they decide to rebuild Murphy similar to what she was before, or if they're gonna stick with a B mode version going forward, or what. I just don't know. Nobody does.
What are your thoughts if you could look into your crystal ball for the future? What do you think they will do? I
think Disney will, for the summer, have a B mode because it's too popular of a show to not have, and the rest of the show is still spectacular as well, so there's no reason to like not have it. So I think they'll do that, and then I think they will evaluate their options. I'm not sure that Murphy would be $10 million again today because some of that money is probably research and development building. And if Gardner Holt Productions still has the blueprints and stuff, maybe they could just refabricate her and kind of install her, because all of the work and stuff is there. You just have to take out the shell of the old thing and put the new version in.
The other thing too is Murphy's on this really, really cool lift. So there's, part of the stage moves and then she rises up from the bottom of the stage. So it's kind of like, I don't know, a Murphy elevator. So we have no idea if that could have been damaged. We have no idea. Absolutely no idea. There's no official word from Disney as to what's been damaged and what hasn't been.
But the next morning, it did look like they had been able to lower the bulk of her into that pit. But because she's damaged, obviously, she couldn't collapse inside of herself. So the morning after, for guests who like ran over there was the skeleton of her head basically sticking out, and Disney worked very quickly to put up tarps and everything to cover that. And it's our understanding, we don't know, but it's our understanding that she's still under those tarps, kind of half out of the pit while they investigate what happened.
Yeah. The whole thing's just, it's difficult. It's heartbreaking. I am in this weird space that when we're there next week, I don't know if I can watch Fantasmic or not, because this is a little too recent for me. Because honestly, I'm going to sound like such a spoiled child, but whenever we'd watch Fantasmic and we get to the part where Murphy was, I would get nervous at the water mist scene, because there was always a water mist scene before she would make her appearance, and so sometimes you could just tell, oh no, the mist screen has been up too long. Murphy's not making an appearance, and my heart would always sink because I just loved her. So the B mode, the water mist screen is great, but it's not her. So I think going into it fully knowing that, and that's always I'm always sitting at the edge of my seat for that point, ooh, is she coming? Is she going to make her appearance or not? I think fully knowing that she won't it'd be too.
Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see how I feel when we're there. If it's even playing, I don't have high hopes that it's going to play.
If it is playing when we're there, I think we do need to watch it, because I think Disney needs to see that people like the show and they want it to continue.
We should also mention that Disney did issue a statement, and other similar fire effects throughout all parks globally have been stopped. So another famous dragon that had a recent incident is
also a Maleficent dragon.
Is the Maleficent dragon in the parade at Walt Disney World. She's still performing in the parade. However, there's just no fire effects. Same thing, I believe that same steampunk looking dragon, I believe, is in Paris. She's still, again, part of the parade, just no fireworks. World of Color currently has still running, but there's no firework or no fire effects. Same with the Wondrous Journeys, the fireworks show. The fireworks are still going, but the fireball effects that they have, everything is paused at this moment. So if you are visiting a park in the near future, fire effects right now most of the fire effects are put on pause. The other thing too, people think, oh, well, maybe they could just get Bucky, the original dragon, to come back. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe the internet lied to me. That does happen, but
I don't think the infrastructure's there for it anymore.
No, it's been dismantled. The head is actually, this sounds terrible. The head is actually part of the Walt Disney Archives and was actually recently on display at an archives exhibit. So it's not like they can just...
See, I vaguely remember, and again, I could be wrong because we didn't do this part of the research, but I, for some reason, thought that part of the wings and stuff came from the mill house. Like, I thought the front of the mill house opened, and that's where the old one came through.
Probably.
But with all these things, I think that's been renovated totally different, so I don't think that's even possible.
The other thing, too, to kind of keep in mind was the area under the stage that Murphy lived in was also home to other big major parts of the show. So there may have been like costumes. I think, I could be wrong, but I don't know where Aladdin and Jasmine's carpet emerges from. So there may have been damage from either the fire itself or from the water from them extinguishing the fire that could have done, more damage that's not obviously visible from guests just kind of looking across the river to kind of assess what damage has been done.
Yeah. Well, I asked in our supporter Discord chat for some folks if they felt like they wanted to kind of eulogize Murphy.
Yeah, share their thoughts.
So one of our weekly tiers, Chris, actually used to work at Disney, so she has some inside
at the Haunted Mansion
info. She said, I don't really have a eulogy for Murphy per se, but I do want to say that I'm proud of the company for supporting its cast members, working to ensure that guests and cast were safe and unharmed, and for creating a safe space to talk about what happened, as it's obviously deeply upsetting, not just for fans, but for cast and crew whose night shifts are in the air now. I know that yesterday Disney offered on-site counseling for New Orleans and Critter Country cast members, which I think is really great. Beyond that, there is a B show without Murphy, so hopefully Fantasmic will be back soon until Disney figures out how to proceed. Rest in peace. Ray said, we went to Disney Archives exhibit at the Ronald Reagan Museum several years ago, and one of the pieces was the head of the former dragon, probably from the archives. And even then, we all knew he'd earned his name. I remember standing in front of him and saying, oh, Murph, like you'd say, who's a good doggy? Just wanted it to be better for him, And now this, oh, Murph. Thompson, who we actually had on the show previously, said Fantasmic's my favorite nighttime spectaculars of all time. The soundtrack is awesome and pyrotechnics are amazing. But one effect that stood out to me as the best was Murphy the Dragon. I have a lot of great memories watching Fantasmic, and feeling the heat from Murphy's fire breath hit my face. I will surely miss Murphy and her role in Fantasmic, but hopefully some even more advanced equipment is to come, which, that we can all hope.
That's true.
And finally, our community manager, Kate, said, even after seeing Fantasmic many times over the years, I was never not completely awestruck at the sight of a 45-foot dragon rising up from Tom Sawyer Island and setting the water below her on fire. Murphy was absolute magic and a true example of one of the things that make Disney parks the best of the best.
100%.
Couldn't have said it better.
100%. My thoughts is, yes, we're going to be entering B mode for a while because unfortunately the timing of this is not great because as a lot of you know, they are doing all sorts of cuts around the resort and they're reducing the number of cast members in total for Disney as a company. And I'm not saying the parks, but so they're trying to cut budgets. And so with this being such a big,
potentially pricey
thing to replace, and I mean even the cleanup on it because you need to get the area ready for the replacement. I feel like it's probably going to be a long road. Do I think this is the end? No, I 100% do not think this is the end. Fantasmic will continue on. I do believe we will see Maleficent Dragon 3.0 yet to earn its loving nickname, but I do believe we will see another dragon. I have mixed feelings on if she will breathe fire, if this was the last time we've seen her breathe fire or not. Depending on what the investigation finds, there's different ways for them to do this effect.
Important. Yep.
So perhaps they just she'll still breathe fire, but it just won't be as big. Because I mean, man, when she set the river on fire, that was a lot. That was a ton of fire. It was amazing.
Well, it was as tall as she was, yeah.
Maybe, so maybe it won't look quite like that. Maybe they'll even go a completely different route and play it way safe and use I was telling you about this, how they could maybe use mist like fog to come out of, like
make it look fire-like.
Have a fireless fire effect, if that makes sense. Still make it appear that she's breathing fire while she actually isn't. I feel like technology's come a long way so they could make that pretty, look pretty well. Who knows? But the other part of me too is saying, we've had fire effects since the beginning of Fantasmic for sure, if not before then, and they've been going off multiple times a day worldwide, and this was one of the first major one. We did of course have the issue where the dragon from the parade in Walt Disney World did also catch fire, and to me that was a more dangerous situation because that's in the middle of a parade with guests right there, where thankfully Murphy was quite a ways away from guests.
A Rivers of America away.
Yes, a river away from guests. But still, this fire was much, much larger. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do. She'll be back. 100% she'll be back. But
if they do fire effects with the whatever they replace her with, I would hope that they would, and we talked about this before the show too, was I would hope that they would have more fire suppression either built into the animatronic or have a Disney fire barge or something on standby during the show that could show up a little faster. Because there was reports of like cast members going out with like a garden hose, which I think you were right. I think they were trying to keep the stage.
I think they were trying to keep the stage wet. Yeah. To try. So by no means am I any sort of expert on this. The thing that's
or have any inside knowledge.
Or have any inside knowledge. The thing though that's crazy to me, and I feel like it had to have, like, there's no way that the Disney gods were on our side this much during this terrible, terrible incident. But the fact that there was so much fuel that was supposed to be on Murphy to be able to produce the fire effect, that just I think that's what kept the fire going for so long, was all of this fuel being burned up. But when you look the lift that she's on, there's a gap between Murphy and where the stage is. So I think that may be intentional. I think that they did kind of have some things in place so that if something like this were to happen, it would stay contained. Because that's the thing that's incredible to me. You're in Southern California. You have all of this wood. There are trees. There's all of these things, that very easily could have caught fire and somehow didn't. That's amazing to me. So I feel like that had to have been by design. I feel like luck could not have been on our side that much.
I really hope that when Disney completes their investigation and they release whatever report that they're going to release to the public, I hope that they talk, if there are systems like that, I hope that they talk about it. Like, hey, our fire suppression system worked. It was contained to the animatronic, which was the design or whatever, and it looked worse than it was from a safety standard, let's say, because obviously it was bad. The animatronic is I would have to believe that it's a total loss.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because I can't imagine that they would be like, oh, the main skeleton works fine, let's just put a new wrap on it and it's all good to go. Because when you get things like heat and stuff like that, I think it becomes difficult. But anyway, so I would hope that Disney would dispel any concern by releasing information like that.
I hope that they're more transparent on this and kind of help people understand what happened better. Because a lot of times incidents like this, they kind of just have I don't want to say like, oh, nothing to see here, nothing. It's not
there
quite
was an
that
incident,
bad,
we responded,
but
it's done.
Yeah, they're very brief. So I hope that with this one,
this was so public.
Yeah, I hope with this one that they're a little bit more transparent and in the details of what happened and what the plan is, what the plan is going forward and whatnot.
10,000 people can sit in that auditorium space and watch the show. So imagine 10,000 people plus all the people who videoed it and put it on the internet.
The thing that I think that is amazing about this is, what if this were have to happen for the first showing of Fantasmic?
Oh my goodness.
What if it would have been the 9 o'clock show instead of the 10:30 show?
Oh, you're saying that night, not like the first show ever.
No. If this incident would have happened at the first showing of Fantasmic,
they might have closed that half of the park early.
Yeah, I don't know what they would have done, because there's also been reports that people were in the park, not on that side of the park, and didn't know that this was going on.
Yeah.
Well, even like people were on Main Street and they're like, we didn't notice like a mass exiting of people or, a mass influx of people. I thought that was really interesting.
From the videos, I was surprised, because usually when something unexpected and catastrophic like this happens, I feel like people's default state is to like panic and run. Like that's built into us as humans, like that survival, fight or flight. And I feel like from the videos I saw that people were generally calm. Cast members were like, go this way. And people just seemed to move. And I was really impressed that there wasn't a panic or like a stampede or whatever.
That's true.
I want to say in the beginning, though, when it first started on fire, I think like people were confused because like it seemed like something was wrong, but there was no indication of like how wrong it was until fire started falling
Suddenly
everywhere.
It was very wrong.
Yeah, and then everybody was like, oh, but I think the fact that there was that water barrier, I think calmed a lot of people. Like, it's not going to get over to us.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm
really
tragic.
interested. And when they do release it, we'll obviously report on it on the show and let you guys know the results of that. But it's a sad day for Fantasmic and for Murphy.
Yes. I just feel so bad. And I just think of all the people that worked on her and that, you know, had different relationships with her than what we had and much closer relationships with her. I just think about all those people and, you know, how those folks are feeling. You know, think about the people that created her, that designed her, that got to work with her at, you know, every night, you know, I just think about those people and, you know, how they're probably feeling about this as well.
I have to imagine working on the show as a cast member. I mean, I have to imagine that they thought of her as a cast member for the show, you know, a member of the show. And so I have to think like there's a video that shows Mickey Mouse on stage when this happens. And there's a moment where Mickey is just looking up at Murphy and just is kind of like, obviously there's not a lot of facial expression, but just kind of has the body language of like, what is happening? Like a kind of a shock.
Like, what? Yeah.
So as always, cast members show that they're professional and they rose to the challenge and got everybody safely out of there and nobody was seriously injured. And I think that's the best we could hope for in a unfortunate situation like this.
Yes, definitely.
Hopefully we can move on and hopefully pictures of the internet, I won't constantly be seeing burning Murphy pictures because I'm just kind of tired of seeing it.
It's still fresh, so it's still very much out there. So,
did you ever think we would report on anything even close to this?
No.
Yeah, me either.
To be honest, when news first broke, I was it's just this little thing, and then I watched the video, and I couldn't even blink. I was just so like,
it's hard to process,
awestruck, and I watched the video multiple times. That's how much in disbelief I was that this was real and that this happened. It was just.
It still kind of doesn't feel real, does it? Like we're talking about it, but it's like, oh, this can't. It's gonna
hit.
Thing.
I think it's gonna hit really, really
when we're there.
Odd when we're there.
Yeah.
And we see the, you know, we're at the scene and we see the aftermath, especially if they still have the tarps still up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just it's very tough.
It's a sad time right now, and who knows? Maybe like Thompson said, this lends the way for a more advanced animatronic.
Just think about it, because she was over 10 years old, so you know technology has advanced,
especially something
a
so
lot,
big.
since then. So I mean, look at some of the newer animatronics that have come out that time. So
the shaman,
who knows what the next version could look like? But there's always going to be a special place in my heart for Murphy.
Yep. Rest in peace, Murphy. We all loved you.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
All right, hello and welcome back to Trivia Land. This is hard to follow that sad eulogy. But anyway,
poor Murphy.
We have answers to questions. Let's get there. So the first question asked this week, there's a tree in Avengers Campus that, if it's lucky to gain superpowers, it'll share an origin story with a superhero. Who? You both answered the Hulk, and that is absolutely correct.
Woo! Good job, Teresa.
Good job, Tig.
For those unfamiliar, across from Web Slingers, there's a tall tree between two others. It's a bit greener and has some gamma radiation leaking onto it.
Such a good detail.
It was pretty cute.
Our second clue is the audio clue. You both right on. You knew pirates right when you heard it. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Good job.
Woohoo! Not Fantasmic.
Not Fantasmic. The third question, what attraction can you find a parody of the Mona Lisa? No, you donkeys, you are incorrect. It was
Did you just Gordon Ramsay us?
because it's in Pinocchio's daring journey in a pile of loot on Pleasure Island.
I'm curious.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Now this does not answer my. There was something hidden in Goofy's house. I couldn't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to research and see. Maybe I made that up.
So yes, I relevantly Gordon Ramsay'd you all.
Thank you. I suppose.
Our final question this week was, name the fortune tellers in Disneyland Park. I know them well because they interact well with the Disney Play app.
They do.
Which we know I'm a big fan of. There are only 2 of them in the park. There is Esmeralda in the Penny Arcade on Main Street. And the pirate you're thinking of near Pieces of 8 in New Orleans Square is Fortune Red.
Oh,
We should have known that.
I was thinking that no, that's the name of the female pirate. You're getting your thought streams crossed here. No.
Yep. But nope, they are consistent on that one.
There's something with we got to check out the lamp in the Adventureland Bazaar because there is a lamp. I don't remember what it does though.
It is not a fortune teller.
No, not a fortune teller, but it's some sort of interactive thing.
Be fun for us to explore as we move on in the future. So we're off next week for Trivia Land, which means plenty of time for you listeners to come up with some ideas for us to share on future podcasts. Send producer Vern and I your questions. It's trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back live next week from Disneyland with some more Disneyland information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Because we will.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.